Hey y'all, it's Jazz, your fave mental health enthusiast, and welcome back to Jazz's Corner, where we discuss all things related to mental wellness. And in today's video, we are going to talk about goals. We're going to have a very productive conversation about the difference between dreams and goals. We're going to talk about how to create goals from your dreams, and then I'm going to provide you with 4 strategies to assist you in achieving your goals. So if you are interested in what I have to say on the matter, then stay tuned. Cue the intro. So, like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we all have a dream. And there are some key characteristics that distinguish dreams from goals. The first being that dreams are usually super vague in nature and they don't provide any clear direction on how to achieve said dream. However, the fun thing is that you don't have to achieve the dream, and that is a very key characteristic of dreams. We can think up whatever we want to, and it does not have to be confined by reality. In essence, dreams take minimal effort to think about because we may or may not act on them. For example, whenever I was a kid, my dad and I would always talk about how I was going to grow up and be the best and most kick-butt actress who was also an astronaut who also lived in another dimension. And hypothetically speaking, I could have trained to become an actress and an astronaut, but I haven't quite cracked the code on how to access another dimension. Still working on that one. I was a fairly realistic child, so I would always say like, Dad, that sounds so silly. Like, I can't do all of those things at once. Like, I can't do that. But just having those conversations with my dad really allowed me to open up and let my imagination flow, because it was never really about, okay, you need to be an actress or you need to be an astronaut or you need to live in another dimension. It was just a way of thinking that allowed me to consider all the possibilities of life to ultimately end up doing what I wanted to do. So I very much appreciated those conversations, even though I had a lot of supreme doubts that I would be an actress, astronaut who just happened to live in another dimension. But you know what? Living in another dimension doesn't sound that bad right about now. Dad, you might have been on to something. In any case, let's switch gears and talk about goals. So goals are different from dreams in that they require time, effort, and action. So you actually have to do something about goals that you set in life. When we set goals, we intend to work towards something, so we are usually fairly realistic in the goals that we set because we would like to actually achieve them. Similar to dreams, there can be very vague goals that we have, but the best goals are grounded in reality and follow a framework in which you can use actionable steps to work towards them. So now we're going to chat about how to create goals based on your dreams. So the great thing is that our dreams can actually inspire us to set goals that will allow us to get closer to said dreams, but it is up to us to put forth the needed effort and energy that is required to actualize said dreams in reality. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I don't have a genie on call where I can just say, yo, genie, and the genie's like, yo, Jazz, what's up? What do you want? And I can just be like, yeah, I want this, that, and the third. And they're like, I got you. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's the life that y'all are living, because like, I'm definitely not living that life. If you're living that life and you got the hookup, holla at your girl. I'm just playing. In any case, when translating your dreams into goals, it is very important to decide what is needed to achieve said dream. So for example, if I wanted to be a veterinarian, then I would have to prepare to pursue the educational and licensure credentials that are needed for that. So I would have to like go get a doctor of veterinarian medicine degree, and that's a lot of school. And then I would have to like go and get licensed. So that is kind of like actionable steps that I could take towards being a veterinarian. Or let's say I wanted to start a business. It's not as easy as just like throwing things up on Etsy and saying like, okay, buy my stuff. I've actually done that in real life before. So when thinking about starting a business, you got to think about like your product, your service, what are you offering to the masses. You've got to think about who the masses are. You got to think about your target audience. You've got to think about like your location. Are you going to be online based? Are you going to have like a storefront? You've got to think about taxes and employees. Are you going to be the sole employee? Just like all of this like logistical stuff. So those are some things that you would definitely have to account for if wanting to start your own business. And I am not here to shame anyone's dreams. I do believe that through hard work and perseverance, you can achieve your dreams and you can do whatever you want to do. But the purpose of this video is really just to give you some strategies to help you help to kind of ground you in reality and say, all right, this is my dream and I really want to do this, and now this is how I set some goals around that. So with that being said, I'm going to get into the 4 strategies that I have to share with you today. So strategy number 1 is to set goals based on different areas of life. And what I mean by that is that it can feel very overwhelming when you have so many things that you want to achieve in life, but one strategy is to categorize your goals based on which area of life they fall into. With that awareness, you could then set some social goals and say, okay, I'm going to chat with like 3 friends each week. It can be a phone call, it could be a text message, you could grab lunch, you could grab dinner, just something to kind of balance out those areas of your life. The second thing that this strategy does is it allows you to give a holistic sense of kind of what you want out of life. It's like if you really go through and give each area of your life some attention and some time and really think through what you would like to achieve in that, it gives you kind of this picture of, all right, this is what I know I'm capable of, and this is what I would really like to achieve. I mean, the work doesn't stop there just because we set the goal. We have to actually work towards the goal, but we've all got to start somewhere. And I know, especially being younger and just feeling very like overwhelmed in life, it's like, oh, I want to achieve this, but I also want to achieve this, and I also want to achieve that. Sometimes we have no idea where to start, and the best place to start is really just to like jot it all down. It's like, okay, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that, I want to achieve that too. And as life goes on, you can definitely refine that process, but I think you need kind of a rough idea of where you'd like to start in terms of like your goals. So in transparency, I will share one of my personal development goals. One of my personal development goals is actually to become fluent in Korean. So 안녕하세요. 저는 자스민이에요. 잘 지내요. So basically I just said, hi, I'm Jazz. I'm doing well. And my reason for this goal is that I've always been very interested in Korean culture and music and shows, and from a young age, like the age of 7, I would watch different Korean movies and dramas with my mom, you know, before they were mainstream. And that was kind of a way that we would bond. And then, you know, around the time I was in 6th grade, I discovered K-pop, and I was like, oh yeah. Once again, before the mainstream, because I definitely remember like telling my friends or just people at school, like, hey, I think that y'all should like give this a chance. It's different. And they all were like, yeah, no. And K-pop didn't really hit the mainstream until Gangnam Style. But that's beside the point. While this has always been one of my dreams, it took a very long time for me to translate that dream into a tangible goal of, okay, I'm actually going to learn Korean. Because like, I've even visited South Korea before and I knew not a lick of Korean when I went. But even then, like, that wasn't enough of a spur for me to be like, okay, I want to learn Korean. Because I definitely have intentions on visiting South Korea again, but I had to work through a lot of self-doubt. I had a lot of doubt about the process of learning another language and, you know, like whether I would be good at it, whether I would actually be able to learn. And so I had to kind of work through some personal barriers before I could say, all right, I'm going to translate this dream into a tangible goal. And at this point, I can say I'm about 8 months into my learning journey, and it has not been all sunshine and rainbows. There are a lot of days where I definitely don't want to study, but I love this goal for myself because for a long time I really felt like I couldn't do it. And I felt like I was kind of holding myself back. So I decided to just take that plunge. And even though, you know, fluency means a lot of things to a lot of different people, I know that I've come so far in my journey and I'm excited to keep this professional development goal going. I just said professional development. It's more so personal development for like just my own personal interest, but it actually does double as a professional development goal as well, because I would like to have business language fluency in Spanish, American Sign Language, and Korean, mainly for the purposes of being able to access more individuals in my line of work, because there's so many people out there that because of language barriers, like they still need help or they still need like assistance, but because of that language barrier, they're not able to quite get the help that they need. So yeah, it's a personal and professional development goal. Just a side note. Okay, moving along. My second strategy is to set short-term and long-term goals. And this is really helpful in getting us to think about the near future as well as the more distant future. And in this context, short-term goals are those that can be accomplished within 12 months or less, and long-term goals need a bit more time to stew in the pot. They take at least 2 years to accomplish. Can take more time, but at least 2 years, and usually they have several short-term goals listed under them that are helping to achieve that long-term goal. So yeah. Using my language learning as an example, a short-term goal that I have is to attend 1 Korean language class each week, and a long-term goal that I have is to be able to communicate effectively when visiting South Korea. Like, do you just get a sense of how much these 2 goals are in different lanes? Like, I know I am very far from being able to communicate effectively. That's going to take a couple of years. But I know that I'm able to get a head start on that through my short-term goal of attending class and having a teacher. Shout out to my teacher who subscribed to my channel. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, you should be like my teacher and subscribe to my channel. A lot of the time we make up really vague goals like, oh, I want to travel to this place, or I want to read more books. But if we just kind of leave it at that and don't ever think through the process of what is needed to make those things happen, then there is a very high chance that we won't actually travel to said place or read more books. We need that extra motivation that comes from thinking through what is actually needed to achieve said goals, and that is where SMART goals come in. Now bear with me, I'm really bad at memorizing acronyms. I've known about SMART goals for a few years now, but even now I can't just like recall off the top of my head, oh, S means this, M means this. So for the purposes of this video, I have tried. S stands for specific. So that means you know exactly what you are going to do in your goal. M stands for measurable, which means you have some way to track your progress in achieving that goal. Usually you're going to use some sort of like quantifiable data. So for example, I'm going to do this for X many days, or I'm going to do this for X amount of time. It's something that is measurable. A stands for achievable. So is it something that you can actually do, which means the goal has to be based in reality. R stands for relevant, which means does it fit in with kind of the overarching goal that you have in mind. And T means time bound, and that means that you are there is a start date and a end date in sight, so that you don't feel that temptation to keep extending the goalpost. Wow, I actually did a really good job. Please give me prompts in the comments. That was hard. So unfortunately, I cannot recreate that magic for this next part of the video. I wanted to give an example, once again, with my own language learning journey. And so I have written it in this cute little notebook that I will be reading from so that I don't mess it up. And so this is an example of how to set a SMART goal, which really prompts you to move from vague to very specific. And there's a large level of accountability in that process. So specific, this is related to my general goal of becoming fluent in Korean, learning Korean. Specific, I will develop a vocabulary of 1,000 words by the end of year 1. It is very specific because it says the amount of words that I'm wanting to learn and kind of when I'm wanting to learn it. So I can look at that goal and be like, okay, that is a very clear goal. A more vague goal would be like, I want to learn lots of vocabulary. Yeah, I want to learn lots of vocabulary. It's just kind of like, okay, well, how much vocabulary? What kinds of vocabulary? Like there's a lot of deep digging that you could do with a less vague goal like that. The next part is measurable, which is I will learn 20 new words each week for 52 weeks. So not only am I saying how many new words I want to learn each week, I'm saying the time span, like how many weeks. And so I did the math, and 20 times 52 is 1,040. So clearly, if I followed that, I would be meeting my goal of learning 1,000 words by the end of year 1. But I also have a way to track my progress because each week I'm able to say, okay, did I learn my 20 words? All right, so achievable. I will learn 5 new words on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because 5 times 4 is 20. I hope that my niece is paying attention because she's supposed to be learning her timetables. And so that further breaks it down. It further breaks it down from, okay, I'm supposed to learn 20 words a week, but now I need to know, like, how can I actually achieve that? And so I just kind of like further break it down. It's like, okay, 5 words a day. I can do that. Anybody can do that. Now for relevant. Relevant is I will learn words related to family, food, hobbies, and work. Because as a beginner, that's honestly what's most important to me. And I think that's where a lot of people go not wrong, but I feel like that really makes the language learning journey a tad bit more difficult if you're just like picking up all this random vocab, but you don't have a way to kind of like tie it into your own personal life in a way that is relevant to you. I can speak from personal experience with that, because one of the very first things that my teacher wanted me to do was like learn all kinds of verbs. And I definitely had a lot of trouble with verbs that just aren't very relatable to me. So for example, like verbs that I use a lot are 운동해요, which is like to exercise because I exercise a lot. 공부해요, which is to study because I study a lot. 전화해요, which is like to talk on the phone. 이야기해요, which is like to chat with friends. What else? 배워요, which is like to learn because I'm learning a lot of things. 요리해요, which is like to cook because I cook. But there were just like other verbs that were like really difficult for me to remember because like some of them are a bit more abstract. So for example, like 살아요, to live. I think that's the verb for to live. If you know Korean, you can like correct me in the comments. To live, I'm just like, that's pretty abstract. It's like, yeah, of course I'm living. And then 결혼해요, which is to marry, and I'm just like, well, I'm not married. So it's like eventually I did pick up on them as they became more relevant, but it's not anything that just like immediately stuck in my mind. All of that to say, I'm learning vocabulary that is relevant to me. Anyway, moving on. Okay, time bound. I will learn 1,040 words by December 2021. So if you just look at the time bound section of a SMART goal, you will probably feel really overwhelmed. But that's why you have all of these other components that act as moving pieces. It's like, okay, this is the ultimate goal, which is to learn 1,000 words by the end of year one. But then this is how I do that. And it kind of goes through a refining process so that I don't feel as stressed out when I am trying to learn a new language. My fourth strategy is to adjust and modify your goals as needed. It can be really tough and tricky to not feel tied to a goal that you've been working toward for quite some time, because you might feel this sense of, oh, I really got to get this done. Like I've already put in all this time and effort and energy. But I would like to emphasize that adaptability is an important part of life. And there will be times where you might have to rework your approach to a certain goal, or you might need to change the goal completely depending on where you are in life. And that does not signal a failure on your part. It is more so a process of refinement that involves honoring where you are in that process of achieving that goal. So once again, using my language learning journey as an example, there have been some times where I have had to reschedule my language class for personal reasons, and I've really been thankful for my teacher's flexibility on that. And there have also been weeks where I didn't study like as much as I would have wanted to, but I always honor my progress and know that I've come so far and I've learned so much since starting this process in December of 2020. So, okay, yeah, maybe I didn't learn 20 new words this week. Like, it's fine. It'll come. Goals are subject to change. But these strategies are mainly just to get you to get in that headspace of like knowing that you can achieve whatever it is you want to achieve, but you've got to have an outline, and you're allowed to tweak that outline along the way, but you definitely have to have like a framework and a foundation of some sort, unless you got a genie. And if so, let me know in the comments below. So that brings me to the end of yet another video, and I would like to thank you for making it this far in the video. I hope that you learned something new or something that you would like to apply in your own life. I'd love to hear in the comments below some of your goals. They don't have to be super personal goals if you don't want to share that, but just like very basic goals that you have. Like maybe you want to go for a walk today, or you want to like call a loved one, just something like that. Yeah, we don't always have to share our deepest, darkest secrets on the interwebs. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I'm going to pop my Instagram over here if you would like to give that a follow. I would also appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up and considered subscribing for more mental wellness content. And that will do it for me. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to drink some water and give yourself a hug. Jazz out.